Hey guys, here to review Devour the Unborn's latest album, Consuming the Morgue Remains. Now, right off the bat, these guys are a four-piece slam death metal band from Texas. When they originally recorded the album, I believe they were a trio, but since the recording of this album, they have added a new band member, so they are no longer a trio, they are a four-piece slam death metal band. And the best way to describe the band's sound and the band's music that they play, slam death metal from Texas. It's brutal, it's heavy, it's everything you expect slam death metal to be, and it's everything you expect brutal death metal Texas to be, and it's amazing. And on the back of the record, I thought it was really cool that they added this, but they have the Texas death metal symbol right here. So, let's get into the review. Vocals. Vocals right off the bat are what really surprised me on this album, and the vocals were actually the one thing I really liked about this album. The vocals are a low scream mixed with a low pig squeal, which basically mixes up to a guttural type noise. And they mix the guttural with the low scream, and then they add the pig squeal noise into it. And it basically comes out to this quiet guttural pig squeal, but it has a lot of oomph to it. It's heavy. A lot of bands use this style when it comes to doing vocals in slam death metal. And to be honest, when I hear this from a lot of other slam death metal bands, I often get annoyed. I'm not a big fan of the pig squeals, you know, I just not a big fan of them. Sometimes they get really repetitive on me, and I just get bored of the album. You know, simple as that. But this album is really different. What makes it different, I think, is that throughout most of the album, he is doing the, you know, guttural pig squeal low thing with a lot of oomph to it, to where it's quiet, but it's not loud. But occasionally he mixes it up. He has the average low, the average guttural that you'll hear just like here and there throughout the album. The vocals are really mixed up on this album, and I think that's really what helped me get through this album. And with the vocals wise, the vocals are very catchy, they're very good, they mix well with the instruments, they blend in well, they keep up with the guitars and the bass and the drums. It all stays up very well with the vocals. You know, vocals, thumbs up. I'm usually not able to stick around with a band that does a lot of pig squeals. I mean, I can do it, and there are some bands that I like that have all pig squeals, such as Carnal Decay. You know, some bands can pull it off for me, some can't. But that's my opinion. Once again, great vocals on this album, though. That's the number one thing I liked about this album. Alright, the instrumentals as a whole. Now, for my slam death metal fans on my channel who are into the slam death metal that just comes out blazing super fast, super heavy, no big chugging riffs yet, just starts off riff blazing, guitar going, bass going, following it, and drums just blasting away, this album may not be for you. Especially on the first two tracks, Bitch in a Ditch, and that's the most memorable song, and Disaffected Inhumanation, track number 2. Forgive me for my mispronunciation. But for this album, they start out with the mid-ish chugs, and to be honest, I'm not a big fan of this style, but I think this band may have changed me to becoming a fan of this style, believe it or not, because I've never heard a band be able to pull this off except for Carnal Decay. They put a little bit of hope in me, and then I looked at other bands that did the style, and I was like, oh, I can't do this, I can't do this. And it turns out I really like this. You know, it slows up at first, and it's really slow mid-ish chugs, and then it goes into the slams, and they're heavy, and they're brutal, and then they speed up towards the middle of the song, and I'm like, yeah, headbang time, you know, it's just brutal, it's heavy, and it's there. But the instrumentals as a whole, you know, sometimes they slow down, and right at the beginning, and that throws a lot of people off from the album, and sometimes they're just heavy, they're there, and they're really catchy. The instrumentals on this album, as well as the vocals, have some really catchy parts. Not only the slams, but the riffs that they play. I believe it's track 6, I believe. Track 6, it's Slaughter Morgue. There we go. Forgive me. But, you know, that part, when it starts out, that riff in the background, you can hear just the guitar going and the bass going right behind it. It's amazing, and it kind of reminds me of old style death metal as well as new style death metal. It's a great riff, and you know, at some points in the album, the guitar riffing just goes like that. And then it's the slams. So let's get into it. Guitars. Guitars on this album, fantastic. They're really catchy. You know, at first when I heard the vocals, I was like, wow, the vocals are going to be the only catchy thing on this. I'm only going to like the vocals, and that's about it. they proved me wrong once again. This band is really starting to become one of my favorites, and I expect to see more from them in the future. But before I go praising them more, the guitar riffing on this album, really nice, really slow at first, and then it picks up speed and it goes super fast. You can just hear the riffing going crazy and insane, and then they drop it down to the slam, and you're in slam heaven. Some of the slams on this album remind me of something from Devour that you'd hear, or something that you'd hear from Human Parasite or Carnal Decay. I mean, they're not really anything new slams, but the way they're played in a style that's different than the average formula that's used is good. I mean, I like the slam riffs on this album. I like the regular guitar riffs on this album. They're catchy and they're good. Bass. Bass on this album wasn't hard for me to hear at all. You can really hear the bass fine and well inside the guitar. You can hear it following the guitar. Sometimes the bass goes and plays its own riffs in its own little world, and I think the bass is really played well on this album. Yeah, I'm getting a water delivery. Woohoo! So anyways, basically, wow, the water truck really bothers me. Forgive me, I actually am giving a water delivery right now, so I am getting a little bit distracted. Give me 1 second to go deal with these guys. Forgive me for the interruption, guys. So back where I was, bass. Bass on the album, it's great. As I said, it follows the guitars. It's nice, it's crisp, you can hear it. Some places it follows the guitar, and some places the bass goes on in its own riffs. You know, in a lot of death metal bands, as I say in a lot of albums, they really don't put the bass out there, and that's the one downfall about death metal. You know, when I listen to grindcore, and there are some death metal bands that are all bass, and I'm in love with those bands, but a lot more grindcore bands have been going into the all bass mode. I think bass is really an underrated instrument when it comes to an album, because bass does make up a lot of the riffs, a lot of the grooves, and the bass is groovy on this album at some points, and some points it's just fucking heavy and insane. Drums. Drums on the album, they're good. I mean, you got the fast-paced drumming, and then you got the slow-paced drumming. There are a few hints and pieces in the album where it does like a trash can style drumming from what I hear, but to be honest, the drumming is great. It's done by a drummer, and it sounds just fucking good. I mean, where can you go wrong with drums? It's catchy at some points, and then it's super fast. And the drums are good. They're nothing new to write home about, in all honesty. They're good. I'm not saying they're bad, but it's just nothing new to write home about. As simple as that, to be honest. And I apologize if that hurts anybody's feelings, but this is my album review and it's my honest opinion. So yeah, Devour the Unborn, Consuming the Morgue Remains. A great album. It really made me consider a lot more slam death metal bands that do pig squeal vocals, as well as slam death metal bands that go into the slower chugger riffs. And we'll see how long that lasts. Carnal Decay, when I reviewed that album and I listened to that, you know, that lasted about a week, you know, maybe 2 weeks tops. But I think these guys really build it up for me. Texas slam death metal and Texas death metal in general, it's great, it's awesome, it's brutal, and it's heavy. So you guys should definitely pick this up. This is on Severed Records, Devour the Unborn, Consuming the Morgue Remains. You know, great band. They actually messaged me a little while ago, actually a long time ago, I think about 3 months ago, before I made the video of my music change. And, you know, I just haven't got around to reviewing it yet. I've had a lot of stuff been going on in my life, and I wanted to get this one, the first review, and I wanted to sincerely apologize to the band for taking my time, you know, a long time to do this. I've had some stuff going on in my life, and I believe I messaged you all about it, and, you know, forgive me. Everybody got stuff going on. Anyways, guys, subscribers, I'm back into reviewing. I'm getting stuff done, and I got a stack of CDs you're sitting on right now, just waiting to be reviewed. So, and I just knocked one off into a box. Good thing it didn't break. Alright, so yeah, that's it. And the whole thing with the music change, you know, I'm going to do what a lot of people said. A lot of people actually messaged me and said, you should do death metal and you should do electronic music. A lot of people in death metal bands actually do electronic music on the side, and they actually do their death metal band on one side. So I'm actually taking that in consideration. I think I am going to start doing death metal stuff again. I think I'm going to do some vocal covers. And a lot of you guys say, hey, why don't you do a vocal cover? Because I really don't know what to do a vocal cover on. I mean, my vocals, when you do a vocal cover, everybody expects your vocals to sound exactly the same as the guy you're covering. You know, death metal vocals are so hard, it's kind of like a voice, you know, everybody's voice is different. Some people can get it to sound the same, some people can't. You know, I like using my vocals in my style, and not a lot of bands, you know, do the way I can cover it. A lot of bands I listen to, you know, they're very high and liquidy lows. My lows are very deep and nasty. They're not, you know, they're just raw and nasty and raspy. You know, so if you guys want to hit me up with something, you know, say, hey, can you cover this? I'll look at it, and I'm not saying I'm going to cover it. I'm not saying, oh, I'll cover exactly what you say. You know, I'll message you back and say, sure, I'll cover that. Sounds good. Or I'll message you back saying, I don't like that sound. I don't like the bands. Or I'm not that good of a vocalist. I cannot produce the sounds that he makes. Thank you for showing me this band, though, because I can improve. Those are responses you're going to get. All right, next review. See you guys later.